So today we are together with Nikolaj Astrup Madsen, and as you both will be able to hear on maybe the name, if you know Danish names, and the accent, our accents and Nikolaj's,
They match.
They match. All of us are from Denmark. So why are we doing the podcast in English? Well, it's because we are so blessed, and now people from more than 90 countries are listening in.
90?
19, yeah, the big 90. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that is quite fun. But first of all, welcome to you, Nikolaj. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. The reason we have this is our first chance to meet each other, and I'm really happy to do so. And the reason I was like, hey, let's talk to Nikolaj is that you have, together with other people, created something called the Traveling Village. And I was like, oh, a Dane who loves to travel. I love to travel. And hey, let's talk. So here we are. Can you tell a little about the Traveling Village and what it is for people who haven't read about it?
Yeah, the Traveling Village is this crazy side project that we had that we created more than 1 year ago. It's more like 18 months ago. And the whole idea was to create a big group of families traveling together. And we call it a village because we wanted to be enough families to have more of a village feeling compared to like a group trip where it would probably be maybe a handful of families. So we had this idea to take around 20 families out, travel for 4 months, and to try to co-create it in some way. And we just finished last week, and we've been traveling 70 people for 4 months in Vietnam, Thailand, and Japan. And we had like a lot of structure behind it. We had work groups, and we had like a financial structure, and yeah, we really been trying to co-create it and to create kind of an intentional community that were traveling. Yeah, and it kind of worked out pretty well. And so now we just arrived back home, and now it's really time to digest because it's been so intense. And it's been a lot, and you guys know this, just traveling can sometimes be a lot, and now we combine it with a lot of community. It's a lot of people, and it's a big work commitment that we had for a long time. So now it's like we're just landing back home, and because it's not just those 4 months, we actually had 1 year before that, from the idea, getting more families in, creating it, attracting enough families, families dropping out, new families coming in. Yeah, so it's been a kind of a wild ride, and it's super weird now that it's all done because
Yeah, I
it
was
had like
about to ask, how lonely are you now, Nikolaj?
Yeah, you should have seen our calendar because we had, like, we called it a village calendar, a shared calendar of events. We had 2 communal meals per week, and then we had a lot of work groups, and we had a lot of events because, you know, we were 19 families, so it's a lot of adult people who are creating different things. Simple things as going for a run together or yoga, but also bigger trips or stuff like that. So our calendar has been completely full for 4 months with really nice things that were more like things you could choose to do. It's not, you are not forced to do it, and it's not like our days were completely full. We could just choose to do it. But then we landed back home, and our calendar there was nothing, you know. So it was kind of a big contrast, but then normal life hits you, and you know, we have families to see and meetings to do and work to do. So but it's a big contrast, and I think, you know, that's the biggest learning from the whole experience, is that the community, the more intentional community, the community that you commit to, is definitely a direction, a path that we want to pursue more in the future. It's been really hard and it's been really intense, but there's been so many good things about it. So that's definitely the biggest takeaway from it.
Well, that's our conclusion. We said after, I don't know, maybe before we became fully nomadic, we started saying the real adventure is the people.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we still hold that high. We go to many places and see many things, but really, the real key to the adventure is the people. But I'm thinking, it sounds amazing, obviously. And we've done parallel kind of things, the castle last year and some of the big hubs and stuff we've done. I just think also traveling, so we're a family of 5 traveling together full time, and we have an adult daughter and son-in-law that sometimes we're 7. And when we're only 5, we meet people in the street or at the beach, or we meet locals and we get local friends and they show us around, and there's this whole dynamic. Whereas as soon as we start traveling with other people, which we often do when we're 2 or 3 families together, this big group, it becomes a little more hard to meet locals, and you become this, it's wonderful. I love it. I do it on purpose. But I was just thinking, how did you cope with that? Being that many people, did you manage to poke through to the locals, or?
Yeah, I think it's important to say that we're not really a big group that are together the whole time. It's really more like a real village where it's people spread out living by themselves, or it's small co-living hubs. But then we are just connected with some behind the scenes structure. For example, meeting up for communal meals or doing events together. It's not like 70 people walking down the street in one big group the whole time. So you have families who live by themselves, some people living co-living. So we all have, the normal, if we were just traveling by ourselves, the normal like opportunities to meet and with local or other travelers. But I think the big difference is that, we had people that we knew had committed to the whole thing. So you invest more in the relationships, especially for the kids. It was so clear that, the first month there were a lot of shy kids, but then month number 2 and 3, it started to become totally different. And landing in a new place, you could see that, it was easy for a lot of the kids. We have a quite sensitive son, and it has been pretty hard with big transitions before, but this time it just worked out really well because he landed in the same community, the same people that he knew, the same kids. But I think it's a fair point with local people, because what's the real purpose of traveling if you just go and see things and if you're not really connected to the local people? But I think that's a challenge too if you're traveling alone. But what I see as a big thing in this project is that we actually get to work with local people, local projects and companies, and coming in with 70 people, it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of money that we're spending just on lodging, just on transportation. So we have a possibility to impact quite a lot, both negatively and positively. And what we tried to do here was to find some meaningful partnerships locally to do. So for example, in Hoi An in Vietnam, we found a local artist, Min, who is 26 years old, just started out full time with his art. and we actually hired him from our community fund. We paid him from our community fund to come to our welcome party, and he set up like a big canvas, and he was like trying to paint the traveling village, like the atmosphere, the physical surroundings, but also, you know, our different nationalities and the kids running around. And he was like commissioned to do this piece of art, but he naturally became a part of the group, and throughout like 4 or 5 weeks, he kind of blended into the group. He came to our communal meals with his wife and his friends. We had people going to his studio to do art classes, and he became more like a friend. The same thing happened in a few of our co-living spaces where we had really good relationship with those people. And that's something that I think, you know, that we want to try to see if we can do the next time more, if we can build like these really meaningful relationships locally. So I think it kind of worked out, and I didn't
Sounds
feel
like it.
that it was like a close group that was like disconnected from the local environment or from different people, because we were not just a big group of people staying in the same place and just doing our stuff. We also had like 8 different nationalities, so that helps a lot with the dynamics and making it not like a closed environment.
Nikolaj, I would like to go back to the origin of the idea. So what happened? You and your wife sat one evening and talked, and we would love to travel more. How did it came to be?
Before having kids, we had like 4 or 5 years where we traveled full time, like the very typical young couple with laptops, you know, and we liked it. But then when we were expecting our first kid, we kind of had the whole like nesting feeling. So we went back to Denmark. We bought an apartment, but of course the travel bug came back, and we took our kids on a 6-month trip to France and Mexico. Or I should say, the idea originated before having kids, because people kept having the question like, what are you gonna do when you have kids? Then you can't continue this lifestyle. And then our, you know, reply was just like, of course we're just gonna bring our friends, you know, we're just gonna be a big group of friends traveling. But of course, in reality, a lot of our friends are more settled, and they're not traveling like long term. But then we did our first trip with kids, and it was kind of hard with the transitions, and it was kind of lonely. We were pretty lucky to meet a lot of great people. So we actually had a lot of social stuff, but it didn't feel like enough. And it was, you know, and you guys must have had this experience too. It was a lot of, you know, saying hi and goodbye, you know, people leaving again, and that was kind of tough. So the whole idea about committing to something, having a community where you say, yeah, we're gonna do this 100%, and we're committed to doing it. So we had like a rough idea, and then we just put out this 1-page website with the idea. And because we didn't have like the final solution, we wanted to find some more families to actually help create it with us. So we got 3 more families in as kind of founding families, who helped build the whole thing. Yeah.
And do people need to commit to the whole 4 months, or did people pop in and out, or how was it planned out?
Like, we had the philosophy that you had to commit to the whole thing. The thought behind that was that there's plenty of stuff where you don't have to commit. There's a lot of the world schooling hubs. There's a lot of places where you can go, and it's just a WhatsApp group and stuff like that. And it's beautiful and it's great, and those things exist. But what we really missed was, especially because looking back now, I can see that we designed kind of a lot of these things for our son, who is more on like a little bit more sensitive and there's just more stuff to consider if it has to work for him. And the whole thing about meeting new people and saying goodbye, meeting new people and saying goodbye again and again, I don't really think that it works for us. You know, so we really wanted to create an intentional community. We're inspired by co-housing, eco-villages. We read a lot about those kind of projects, studied that heavily to also learn about the framework behind the scenes. And then we had enough people who were like willing to commit to the whole thing. And it's important to say that a part of the project, and we kind of told this to the people who signed up, was this is not just going to be fun and easy and on the beach. You know, there will be hard times, and that's kind of part of the project. We're all going to go through some hard things together, and hopefully those hard things will connect us more, make the whole community stronger. And that kind of happened. And I think, you know, we would have missed some of those things if people were just coming and going. So I think that rule kind of worked out. Of course, people are completely free to do what they want, you know. But we said we all paid $3,000, around $3,000 into a communal fund. And that was like a requirement. And it's a requirement that you go, you know, you participate with the intention of participating in the whole thing. But of course, if you're not thriving or something happens back home or whatever, you're free to do what you want, you know. And that's one thing that we learned from studying intentional communities, is that we wanted a lot more freedom than a lot of the eco villages and stuff like that have.
Don't get me started,
so many
we looked at some
insane
eco villages.
requirements.
Yeah, we looked at some eco villages at some point, and it actually felt like, oh, so you want to make an intentional community that is more free than being under the state and everything, but you have more rules.
You have more rules, and it feels like small prisons where you have to have the exact same political point of view, and you have to eat the exact same food,
read the same book.
Oh yeah,
same version of yoga. No, I can't do that.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually wanted to go like opposite of that, because that was like, when reading about those projects, it was like a huge turn off, you know. So so we actually said like, okay, let's just get diversity. Let's get some Trump voters. Let's get some different nationalities. Different ages, you know, and different kids, and let it just be chaos and mayhem, and you know, a big mix. And there will be a lot of beautiful things in doing it that way. So the intentionality combined with complete freedom, you can live, your family can stay where you want, but this is, you know, our community zone in this city. This is where things will be going on. So try to stay close to this. So having a lot of freedom, that's important for us. And it kind of worked out, that combination.
Yeah. I like it. I'm almost just a little jealous.
I think I might want to think about maybe
committing. Yeah.
People, the worst thing is to try to get the travelers to commit. Man, it's so hard, and I can't do it myself, so I can't judge anyone. I would love to spend a lot of time with a lot of families and make these great things happen. But then making the commitment, that closes off all the doors to all the other things we could do.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard, I think. So
yeah, it's a hard thing. But I think the good thing about this was that it was only 4 months. So it's kind of easy. And that's within a time frame where you avoid a lot of big challenges. I think going much longer, you start, you know, having more challenges. So it seemed like a good balance. In the perfect world, it would work as a more like a permanent lifestyle, but I think right now the traveling village is more like an experiment. You go on this thing and you commit to it, and hopefully you learn something. And I think that was pretty clear that we all learned something about community, and that there's that it's more meaningful. You know, we all know that community is important, but I think that a big takeaway for a lot of the families is that, okay, slightly more commitment, it's actually a good thing. But something that I learned is that the whole world schooling community, it's really full of dreamers, and a lot of people who say they want to do stuff, and so I'm not really even sure that this is really like a project for like the world schooling commitment, like the community, because there's a lot of those things where people, they say they want community, but they're not really ready to commit. And that's a challenge we have ourselves. Like, we only committed to 4 months. That's, in the big picture, that's nothing, So, so now it's just an experiment. You go on 4 months, and then hopefully you learn something. And I think for our family, it was clear that, okay, it was hard with the commitment, and it was intense with the community life, but that's the right direction for us. So we don't have the final solution, but we definitely know that it's worth to pay some kind of price to get more community, and we are ready to sacrifice a little bit of the freedom that we work so hard to get, to convert some of that freedom into some community.
Absolutely. And what I'm thinking about, what I like about the traveling village model, as you explain it, is the rhythm of life that we can see on our travels, to breathe in and breathe out. We clearly love the breathing in with all the community, all the people, all the experiences, and then we just sometimes need to breathe out, take it all in. Because if we have been traveling this summer for 6 years constantly.
When did we do that?
We had 3 weeks in Kansas. We had 3 weeks in Kansas where we breathed out.
We're still in Kansas.
But what we can see is that we will try to go towards a more breathing in, breathing out period at some point.
Yeah.
You just tie me to a sofa.
No, but the reality is that it is, I mean, you need to anchor the experiences and kind of ponder about what has happened here. What did I learn? How did I grow? Because if you are always on the move, you sometimes forget to bring the soul.
Yeah.
There's this fun story about my mom, and sometimes when they leave a party, she says to my father, "Oh, we are leaving now." And he says goodbye to everybody, goes out into the car and sits down and wait. And she comes 20 minutes after, And one day I addressed her and said, "Mom, what is this about, man? Why are you doing this?" And she said, "Oh, yes, but some of us has to collect our soul before we are ready to leave." And I was like, I actually get that.
Yeah.
But I talked to your dad about it. And I said, "Oh, so you've been married to Rosemary for 40 years at the time when I talked to him about it. You've been sitting behind the wheel waiting, quite a few hours in your life now. Are you so happy with that?" And he said, "I have had so many good strains of thoughts in this car in my life. There are many things to think about, and I get some peace here. I know I get." So, I mean,
it works out. It's in balance.
Yeah.
Totally a side story, though.
But I totally agree that you need, like, in this project, we actually had between locations, we had like 5 to 6 days of travel time, so people could do like side trips or take a small break. And our family used that as like to just be our family. Not go out and see a lot of stuff, just relax and take it all in and get ready for the next period. But I think that's, it's probably one learning about like being nomadic or traveling a lot, is that there's no real perfect solution. You always have to try different things, and sometimes you go and you do community or you stay with friends like you're doing, and then at one point you need something different. And so that's a constant thing
I think that within the framework of being a parent and having the responsibility of allowing for my children to grow up and mature, there's this thing that the only thing I know is that it's going to change.
Yeah.
That I don't know how it looks in 3 months.
Yeah.
And we have 4 children, so there's the individual children, and then there's the whole dynamic between everyone. And if you do the multiplication, it goes crazy. So there's always something, lots of moving parts. We also homeschool. So, I mean, and it's kind of the same thing I feel with the traveling. We've been full-time for almost 6 years now. It's like, there's no way lots of people ask us, oh, you're full-time traveling. How do you do it? And we do it in whatever way is right now. So sometimes it's a road trip, and we love the road trips. We're in the van and we're out there and we see new places and we get too little sleep and we cook in the streets and all these crazy things. Don't shower too much. It's just insane. It's really funny. Right now we're 6 people in a 7-meter Mercedes thing. It's crazy. And our kids are not small, remember. They're all teenagers. So it's like 6 adults. It's a lot of fun. And then you get so exhausted. And right now we're blessed with our friends here in Germany. They have a house and a garden with a pool and some apple trees, and we can just chill. Sometimes we're in the house for 2 months to just stay somewhere, which is a completely different dynamic. And you get to meet the locals, and you get to know the birds and the little snakes and whatever it is. There's no one way. And sometimes all we want is community, and we go for the hubs or the World School pop-ups or these things. And I don't think you can, it's like, now we have bringing up children and traveling. There's actually never a conclusion, right? You have to stop, breathe, and think and figure out what's the next step.
But it seems like you guys have found a good balance because I think a lot of nomadic people, they get trapped in they travel so fast and it becomes like how many countries or how many sites and stuff like that. And then we kind of tried that a little bit when we were younger, and it's like at one point it seems so meaningless, but having, I think that the completely normal life back home, where it's just like one big mass of time, and you can't really remember what happened last month because it looked the same as the month before and stuff like that. Finding the balance between those two extremes, it feels like you kind of found a good balance where, and probably a lot of self-knowledge. So okay, now what we need is actually to stay low. We need to settle for a few months, look at the apple trees, just become familiar with the local neighborhood and stuff like that. And then at one point it hits you, now we need to go on a road trip.
We get bored really fast.
But
I realized that when we were in there, we got to borrow an amazing house in the USA, like really a luxury, thing. And it was fun to try. We had it for like 3 weeks.
It's wonderful.
It was nice. We'd just been traveling Mexico, and we've really been around. So it was nice to have a break. But man, it was 3 weeks, and the kids were happy in the beginning, and then they started. And I said, our plane ticket.
No, but at the same time, we then our focus changes on the kind of projects we do. And that I find interesting, and I'm happy to hear that it sounds like we have a balance.
It's a bit like biking, but mountain biking. You're like, oh, and because you're moving, you're not falling, but
No, we are still. But what I like about the life we have created is that it is in search of a balance and a meaning, where the life we led earlier was more stable, and you sometimes need external forces to help you in the search for the development, and life is really fun. So why not get the most out of it? Nikolaj, I have a question. So I'm really happy you have taken the time to meet with us. And I reached out to you after the BBC article, and I mean, it must have probably been crazy afterwards. And um, because I presume a lot of people and a lot of the dreamers is like, oh, we want to do that as well. So is there coming a new traveling village? And what is the plan? And are you ending up just becoming a travel arranger? Agent? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about this? Because you did
That's
it for yourself.
yeah, and it's so difficult because it's there's the momentum of things, like when you put things out in the world, sometimes there's an article, whatever, and it's easy to get distracted with momentum. Then you feel like, oh, we have to do village number 2 now because people, they're writing us and stuff like that. But I think right now our compass for creating this thing is our own family. What's the right thing for us? We have to have the drive to put in the work. It's completely non-profit right now, so it's a lot of free work. So it has to be the right thing for us. We don't want to compromise on what's right for our kids and stuff like that. So I think we we did the whole village 1 with like this could be a once in a lifetime experience perspective, which worked out really great because we've been just focusing on that experience and not being in the future the whole time. But there's definitely something here that we want to build upon, and it was such a great experience for us that I could really see it become a part of our life. Not a full-time thing, but it could be a recurring thing. But then you have the whole challenge of, it's really difficult to make something long-term sustainable if you don't get paid for it, especially if you put in most of the work. So there's some concerns there, and I actually ran an agency, like a travel company, back in the days, and which was kind of a community too. But yeah, so I see that there's a lot of those things that I don't want, and I don't want to go in that direction. I do think it could become a super big business if we were to do it, because it's a normal travel company, they sell to one family 1 week in Mallorca, whatever. Here we actually have 20 families for 4 months, and it's a heck of a lot of money being spent. So there's definitely the potential, but right now I see it more as like an experimental playground and something where we can learn stuff. And yeah, so right now I actually see more that we would create some kind of more permanent intentional community somewhere in the mountains, hopefully, and then maybe have this project as a side project where we sometimes we go on these big adventures, and where we try to, because we gain so much experience, next time we can work more with local people, we can go further out away from the tourist hubs and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's really difficult. I think there will be a village number 2, but how it looks, how it will
When it
be,
will come, yeah.
when it
For
will be, I
me,
have no idea.
no, for me, what I've learned the most during the last couple of years is I really love the community part of it, the investment in the people.
Yeah,
So we travel in between friends often,
yeah,
and our good friends here, the Edwards in near Hanover, they are beautifully placed. So we visit them when we enter Denmark
yeah,
once a year, and when we
yeah,
exit Denmark.
yeah. That's
7
perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Europe.
So we live with them 1 or 2 weeks every year, and it's just wonderful. And to see the the connection between our kids grow over time like that, and our own relationship grow over time, and there
yeah,
is just this, it's a different commitment when you are living in an intentional community and are co-living with people than when you are visiting.
yeah,
When I look back to some of the life I've lived earlier, it was, I don't regret anything. It was fun and we enjoyed ourselves a lot and have lots of good friends. But we visited them. We were on a visit, and you have time to put up the facade, when
Yeah.
you're only together for 3 or 4 hours. Here I wake up, do my morning yoga in the garden, you come out of the toilet and you're maybe tired, and you see each other in all the offbeat situations that
Yeah.
make a human total.
Yeah.
And that part I just love, because you get so much more reality, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important point, because that's a part of it. But I think maybe you guys are a little bit unique in that way. I think that because you've been traveling for so long time, and it seems like, now I've been following you a little bit, that you invested so much in the community, in your relationships with friends, that now you have a whole like map where
Yeah.
you can go to this place
Yeah.
and this place.
Yeah.
So I could imagine that like you found a really good balance between the nomadic, the freedom, and exactly what you're saying, the commitment. Now we're actually together for a few weeks, and you're gonna see my ugly morning face and
Oh,
stuff
yes.
like that. But I think there's a lot of people who don't have that network, or like haven't built that up yet. So maybe the traveling village could be a Kickstarter for those kind of things. You get like a
Absolutely.
head start on like a lot of new friends.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
And
why
the
didn't you
network.
make this 6 years ago, Nikolaj?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure we would have committed though.
Oh, no,
I mean,
maybe we weren't ready
we're
back
not
then.
good with commitments.
No.
We're really not.
But
good.
our networks comes out of Lady Liberty made one of our big networks comes out of the time when Lady Liberty made a European World Schooling Week, and those people are among our friends still. So
Yeah.
I can also just see how.
Laney's 2019
Yeah.
what was it, conference in Granada was epic.
It
It
was
was
life-changing for
for
us.
many people, not just for us. And
Mhm.
in the line of her, it was a very good one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I mean, the one doesn't exclude the other. It's just two different ways, and you could go full time, or you could go only for 4 months and just,
Yeah.
And yes, we've invested a lot of time in the people, but as I said before, really the adventure is the people. When you come back from an adventure, very often you share all the stories about the mountains and whatever.
Yeah.
The art that you've seen, but most people also tell a lot of stories about the people they met.
Yeah.
That's the important part of traveling. So this has happened in an organic way. It wasn't a plan. It's just how it unfolded. We met so many really great people. We thought we would be more like road tripping in the big red bus that we bought in the beginning, and move around all the time with that, having this little house with us. And the reality was just different. We couldn't have planned for what happened. And now I would say we have a great community life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's scattered. Most of it is in Europe, but it's scattered around in the world. And our children actually now say that they have so many friends, they don't really want more friends.
Yeah.
Not that they're not social, they are social, and they like going to festivals and meeting new people, and but we have so many people that we in so many countries that we keep up with, having the relation, spending some time, that it's almost hard to. So you say you come back to Denmark and you have a empty calendar. We'll be back in Denmark next week after being away for a year, and I will be drowning in my calendar.
Well, we only have
That's
6
kind of the
weeks in
same here,
Denmark.
but
we have 6 weeks only, and then we're leaving again. So, but what I'm saying is just that community can look in many different ways. And you say we're unique, and everyone are unique.
I think it's a wonderful project you have, Nikolaj.
You have a great project.
Yeah, so cool.
And it could be combined with our kind of,
Yeah, that was a question that I had for you guys, is that last year we actually went on a camper van trip, like our first, not long trip, but it was like 5 weeks. around Europe, and we really loved it. You know, that way of traveling and living, and especially for the kids, it was amazing. And so of course we had the idea of, you know, the traveling village, but a camper van like version, you know, and
Caravan, yeah.
especially like we wanted to buy like big, like Moroccan tents, you know, to have a big tent for all of the kids to play in, one big kitchen tent, and, you know, a big barbecue. We wanted like a support van with a big trailer with a big barbecue and all of the equipment and stuff like that, so you could actually make a whole pop-up village. And instead of going to campgrounds or like national parks, you would maybe like work with finding very unique farms like way out in the nature, and see if, okay, can we stay here for 1 week and we help out, we do this, like try to connect a little bit more, and then use a big field and just like do this pop-up village slash festival thing. So like, have you thought about doing something with, like, when you're driving around, to get like a big group of cars together and find a like a balance where you do stuff together, you camp out the same places, but you also have freedom?
Yeah, I think the point you make about working together with locals is what could make this possible, because the challenge is that the whole van life movement is not always very welcome, because not everybody in the movement is cleaning properly up after themselves, and people
Yeah.
don't want
Respectful.
no, and people don't want people sleeping in their car in their next to the beach and stuff like that. And I totally understand that. If there was like 30 people in a tent on the beach, I would get frustrated.
Yeah.
So what you're pointing at is what will make this possible, which is local anchoring, local commitment and agreements. Then it would be a wonderful thing to do.
I kind of think that then that might be a fun project now,
Yeah, it would be cool.
but then it should be called a traveling festival. It would be
Yeah,
more like
maybe
a
it
circus,
depends
actually. It
on,
would be you arrive at a town and you have an agreement with where you can put it up, and you invite for like concerts and barbecue nights, whatever, you know, you invite the local environment to have a party with you, and then I would stay for more than a week. I would think setting up all of this, moving that big group, finding all those parkings, you know, all of that, hooking up with electricity and water, and I would stay for more than a weekend. But I would make some sort of event out of it to invite the locals. I don't know, make it a world schooler event or a homeschooling event or a music, whatever, something, because I think showing up that many people, setting up that big of a deal just for your own convenience, maybe I think it would be more fun to call it a traveling festival, actually.
There's some of the people who inspired us back in the days. Are they from Argentina, the family who drive in the old van? What are they
They're
called?
Catalan.
They're Catalan. But what?
If it's the circus family.
No, not the circus family.
which one is it?
It's the one in the really old
Sack
town.
family?
The Sack, yeah.
Sack
Sack.
family.
Yeah. And this family, they've been traveling in a van from the 30s or 20s, really old one with their
It's not
kids.
even a van, it's just a
No,
car.
just a car. But what they do,
They even have more children than we do.
yeah, they when they come to a new city, they give a free talk, and it is inspiration giving to the local community, and for them it's also an invitation afterwards to, hey, you can come and stay with us, you can come and stay with us, and that is really, really wonderful. It's a smart move to say that, please. But Nikolaj, we should focus back on you, and we should also remember to look at the time.
Have we thought about that? We have.
Yeah, but we like other people organizing as everybody else.
yeah.
No, it would be a long story why we didn't make these big projects. Life has happened, and I don't know, it hasn't been for us. And now we're in the game in this weird, from this angle that we've been traveling for a very long time, but also our children are not very young anymore.
Yeah.
So when we show up to these events, even like yours, we become the experts on homeschooling, and our children have no other teens to hang out with.
Yeah.
So they are like, do we really? So it's not that they don't like younger children, they do, and they
Yeah.
do spend time with younger children and enjoy it, but their need really is a community of young people, not a community of
Yeah.
children
Yeah.
under 10.
Yeah.
So that's the new challenge. We would have to have the focus of attracting traveling, homeschooling children who are more than 15 years old, and that's actually
More
that's a
difficult.
very narrow
Yeah.
window.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Nikolaj, I would love to put the focus back on
Sorry.
you. No, no. So the whole traveling and the whole being there as a family, right now you have only been home a week. Have you had even like breathing in and breathing out again? Where are you?
Yeah, I think, when you come back home, there's so much family and friends and stuff like that. So it's a little bit difficult to digest, really, to have that really slow period, because we actually thought, okay, we're gonna go from this intense thing and then we're gonna go back home and it's gonna be really slow. But of course, reality is that we have a lot of great neighbors, we have a lot of great friends in the city, all our families here, so we had busy days. Like our calendar, there was like nothing, but we have been busy. But it's kind of weird now because we're in our own apartment, and that's the first time in those 4 months, because we lived in co-living setups for 4 months, and there's in many places we lived in just like a room, and we had like shared kitchen and stuff like that. And there's definitely a lot of those things that we miss, the whole random social conversations and stuff like that, where it's not planned out, it's not an event, it's not a trip, it's not something that's in the calendar, it's just we just feel like sitting and talking right now. And that's actually, we have here, like we live in a really nice place with a lot of great neighbors, and it's really nice during the summers because our communal yard is like full of kids and full of people, and we all walk through the yard when we are going out, so you meet your neighbors a lot. And that's, for me personally, that social stuff covers so much of my social needs. The more random meetups, conversation, like now I feel like hanging out, and now I'm staying longer. Now I can see that him or her is down there. Now I'm gonna go down, and instead of with our friends, we always have to plan 2 weeks out, and okay, let's first day at 4 p.m. and we're all tired, and then we have to transport through the city and stuff like that. So I think those like random meetups, and the community is just around, that's really something that we already kind of miss.
Yeah. And that is what I long for the most, and also
the co-living is the best.
Yeah,
living.
and what I really love about what you have done and all the time you have put in as non-profit is I begin to look more and more and stuff like, if I want to enjoy stuff, someone has to make it. If I want to be at an event, someone has to create that event. Oh, maybe I should start creating more events myself or sharing more. And this is one of the reasons we are doing the podcast, for example, and we are giving some talks at different festivals just because it is nice to have something to meet around sometimes. And I like to do it. So I felt like, okay, I've been enjoying other people's events for so many years that maybe it's time I should figure out to create our own stuff. So I'm very grateful for all the time you put in. And as we should find a place to round up the podcast episode, otherwise we'll just talk about traveling and the wonders of co-living forever.
And we actually have some apple trees waiting for us in the garden that we have to look at.
Then Nikolaj, I know the next traveling village isn't planned, but if people want to stay in the loop, how do they find you? How do they read more about the project? Where is it they follow you on Facebook, or is there a newsletter they can sign up to? Please share.
Yeah, so we have travelingvillage.com, which is our website, and I'm actually creating a new website with a lot of more content, a lot of more of the experiences that we had, hopefully released in a week or something like that, which will be much better than the website we have now, which is kind of the same as when we started, just the idea. And we have the website and we have a newsletter, where the idea at least is that we send out a newsletter. That's like our main channel, once per month, with like the experiences and the ups and downs. Something that we've been trying is with Instagram, is to also create a lot of content there, but more like building in public, you could say, building the whole project in public. Some say that I've been focusing too much on the negative things, but I just feel like with Instagram, there's so much beautiful travel content, and it's not really my thing, and it's not, I don't think it's not possible for me to stand out if I wanted to do that. And I'm interested in all of the behind the scenes, the structure, the ups and downs. Now we have a conflict. Now there's something difficult. What we learned about this. So, and I didn't do too much, but we actually we have maybe like 40-50 posts there with like ups and downs and learnings and people who were on the trip saying like what's been hard. We have stuff about like walkability, how close do you live to the community, and how do you get time to be alone in a big group and stuff like that. So I'm pretty happy about that. And we also have a podcast or a YouTube channel, which is kind of done now, but we wanted to document the whole thing. So we did like 8 episodes throughout the whole trip, where we were 3 people doing it. We have one where it's with 2 of the bigger kids telling about their experiences. Again, really a lot of focus about the ups and downs, the learnings, the structure behind the scenes. Not really a lot of focus on, beautiful pictures and stuff like that. So that's been kind of one of my dreams to build in public, to just put all of the experiences out. So hopefully someone can find that and take, some of the structure, some of the adjustments we learned, and then create their own. We also have a big handbook, which kind of worked as our terms and conditions for signing up. That's also public. And but the newsletter is probably on travelingvillage.com, should be our main channel. I'm not sending out too many of them because there's been so much just to do to make it work. So all of the communication or marketing or whatever has been like not prioritized like that much. But that's gonna be our main channel.
But I know I'm gonna sign up and stay in the loop, because
Perfect.
4 months sounds like maybe I can do 4 months plan. We are not
Yeah,
let's
best of
see.
friends. Yeah.
Let's see.
But Nikolaj, thanks a lot for your time, and for everyone listening. I think you should go out and both sign up for the newsletter. We will also put a link to everything, also the podcast episode you have done, in the show notes and the handbook, so people easily can find it. Thanks a
Thank
lot
you
for
so
your
much,
time.
guys. It was a pleasure.
Was